Well, you're on the hot seat on this one, Sean Sherlock. So my guess is, when Brendan Hallen was sitting here and we were talking about Michael Noonan, and I know this week and last week in particular, the comparisons with Greece are enormous and there was some great wins. But the people in Ireland, there are things that are much close to home for them, which is medical cards and child benefit and water charges and property tax. So what do you need to do for people to feel, like, I'm not talking about the macro statistics, but how do you get them to feel that they're part of the recovery?
A lot of people are still suffering. A lot of working families are still feeling the pinch, if you will. And I think the vast bulk of the conversations that I have, I spoke to a guy yesterday who is working. He's a truck driver. His wife works in the healthcare services. And what he's telling me is, look, he's got 2 teenage kids. He's thinking about the future, but he doesn't have that cushion, if you will, at the moment because of his weekly income. Even though there have been changes to the universal social charge in the 2015 budget, he's still feeling the pinch. So I think one of the areas that we really need to look at is the universal social charge, to see how we can ameliorate the conditions.
Or taking people out of it?
I think, quite frankly, I think in the future, we need to see the eventual demise of the universal social charge as a feature of Irish taxation policy. Okay, and if you look at what we did in 2015, we've taken 80,000 people out of the universal social charge. Since 2011, we actually took 410,000 people out of the universal social charge. The other thing, and very often people don't remember this or don't recall this or realise this, we did not introduce the universal social charge, but we've done a hell of a job of taking a lot of people out of it. Now, to go back to the question, to go back to Gina's question, and if we talk about working families and if we talk about people who are squeezed, I think we need to do more in 2016 to see if we can ameliorate for those people their take-home pay. They need to see more in their pay packets, because it could be the difference between putting a new set of tyres on the car, fixing the boiler, maybe touching up the house that hasn't been done since 2008 because of the kicking in of the recession.
But you accept that there is a lag in the economy in terms of people's feeling that they're part of something that's growing?
I think there is a latency about that. There's no question about it. But I think this year, people are realizing, for the first time, they're getting something back. And even though there's an additionality in terms of the charges that they face, we're keeping ahead of those charges by virtue of the measures that we've done in relation to the higher rates of income tax, for instance, and also in relation to improving the universal social charge. And also, bear in mind, the increases in child benefit as well. It's the beginning of a process of returning back monies to people who have made the ultimate sacrifice since 2008.
And on that note, we might come back to you on it. So there was one question I wanted to come back to you on, but I wanted to bring in Michael McCarthy, because it's all very well talking about, we've always been talking about this divide between rural Ireland and urban areas, and is it about across-the-board taxation, or is it much more complex than that? For people to feel, we're talking about people feeling the recovery rather than perhaps talking about the statistics.
Yes, so I think in reality, people will only begin